Well, I think one of the problems with the mainstream media isn't that they're liberal, although that is definitely a problem. It's that they're all so bland and uninteresting and all the same. Well, what a pleasure to sit down with my friend Candice Malcolm, who's not just a great conservative journalist, but she's an innovator, a builder, someone who's not afraid to start something new, and she joins us now in studio. Candice, it's great to see you again.
Thank you so much, Ezra. Thanks for the introduction. I think it's true that we criticize the media because of the liberal bias, because they're now subsidized, or a lot of them just paid for outright by the government. But they're also really, really boring. They have the same opinion on everything, and the range of what you can believe is narrower and narrower. And I think that's why so many Canadians are tuning out and rejecting that.
Yeah, you know what? I admire what you've built with True North, and we love talking to you and Andrew Lawton and your other colleagues. We love that you're grassroots and that you don't take a dime from the government. But what I want to talk about today, if I may, is the Independent Press Gallery. Now, you and I have chatted a little bit about this, but since we last spoke, you guys had a great event. And I know I spoke to you that day, and I know you were a little bit worried because there was a tiny bump in the road. But a few hours later, I thought that was the best political interaction I can remember seeing in Canadian conservative politics. I can't even remember the last one that was better. It was so good. I'm talking about the fireside chat style interviews that you guys did with the conservative candidates. Give me a little bit of it from your point of view. You arranged that whole thing. You did the whole thing. How do you think it went?
Sure. Yeah. So of course we were a little bit disappointed, Ezra, because we had sort of planned and marketed this event as the last debate amongst the conservative candidates before conservative members are going to have to mail in their ballots. We were so excited to get all four of the candidates agreed to it. I didn't honestly expect Peter MacKay to say yes in the first place. The fact that he did, we were just really excited. It was going to be the big launch of the IPG, and because we had all four of the members, the mainstream media had to pay attention. Even if they hate us, even if they begrudge everything we do, the fact that we had the legitimacy given to us by the candidates meant that they had to cover it, and they were. CPAC was going to air it. There was a couple of news stories written about it, so we were excited about that. And then we got the curveball day of, because Leslyn Lewis informed us that she had an ear infection. We were hoping that she was going to pull through. Her doctor advised her to stay home. Look, I get that people are a little bit paranoid at this point because of the coronavirus or whatever, and we're in Toronto where there is still cases and stuff like that. So we said, okay, we can still do the debate without Leslyn. But then, an hour later, Peter MacKay's campaign put out that statement. I think Sheila Goodread said that it was something funny about earache solidarity or something like that.
It was so lame. And he would have been better just to say nothing.
Right.
It was so transparent that it was a fib. The earache, all right, fine. I'm not going to say someone's faking an earache, but he's not even trying when he says, because she has an earache, I won't go to the debate out of solidarity. And by the way, her campaign manager, who came down there, I think he wanted to say, look, we really do support the event. Steve House is his name.
He's a great guy.
He said, we don't want that kind of solidarity. So he was saying, no, don't use us as an excuse. It was so transparent. I think Peter MacKay was definitely the loser, at least to the conservative base, that was excited for the debate and excited that you guys were doing it.
Well, and that was the whole idea. This was to give the conservative members a final view of the candidates, and frankly to a conservative audience. I know it's the Independent Press Gallery, and we welcome membership from any independent outlet or journalist, but let's be frank, our audience, your audience, the post-millennial who's also a member, they all are sort of on the right side of the political spectrum. So this was a chance for the candidates to actually speak to the base, speak to the people who are going to be submitting their ballots. So Peter MacKay dropped out at the last minute, and we kind of had to scramble. As you saw, we had a bunch of stuff planned, and everything went out the window. We even had ordered nice podium signs with the names on it. Some expenses out the window, but that's okay. We pivoted, and that's sort of the beauty of the small independent nature of our media companies, is that we're kind of used to pivoting. We're used to scrambling at the last minute. So Andrew Lawton did a fantastic job facilitating those conversations. My favorite part of the evening, so we ended up doing two back-to-back. I think there were about 45-minute in-depth interviews on the same issues that we were going to be talking about through the debate. So the things that conservatives care about, not the stuff that the mainstream media obsesses on, not, what is your position on abortion, what is your, all the same stuff that they've heard over and over. No, we actually want to talk to them about freedom of speech, about immigration, about all those topics. And so Andrew did a fantastic job just getting into that. And then my favorite part of the night was the scrums afterwards, because we had all these independent journalists, all these young, really hungry, guys asking great questions. Compare that to the stale mainstream media ones where you get the same question over and over. I think True North counted that one of the debates, they were asked like 20 times about systemic racism.
I remember that.
It was like over
so
and over
bad.
the same. Whereas our questions, everyone had their own questions. It was really interesting and great to hear from so many different journalists.
You're right. I mean, and I went down there briefly, and then I came back up here to our world headquarters because I was sort of doing a live stream from here. But I went down there just to say hi, and it was such a pleasure for me to meet young journalists, independent, and frankly, I don't know if they're right wing or left wing, but that I had never heard of before and that wanted to join. I was very excited by that. And I saw some of these questions, like, what do you think of banning TikTok? Okay, that's a refreshing question because it's a real question, goes to Chinese security and whatever. The questions that were asked were great. I think the star of the night was your own colleague, Andrew Lawton. Let me just throw two moments. I mean, I've always been a fan of Andrew, but he really hit a new height here. Can I show two of my favorites?
Sure, absolutely.
He was so well briefed, and he exposed new things about the candidates, which is hard to do because they've been asked so many questions. Here's when he sort of discovered that Derek Sloan supports the dairy cartel. That was news to me. He did it so well. Take a look at this.
One of the big issues that we heard in the 2017 Conservative leadership race, which was odd to become so central, was supply management. And this is an issue where I think Conservatives have often philosophically been at odds with some of the political realities. And I know you have farmers in your riding. I know a lot of farmers, including dairy farmers specifically, make up the Conservative base. What's your stance?
Well, I think that when you look at, so first I'll say I don't have any intentions to make any major changes to supply management, although we can always look at ways to modify the system.
That's real news. And here's Andrew, very gently, with a smile, exposing a contradiction in Aaron O'Toole, talking tough about free speech, but well, he engaged in a bit of cancel culture too. Take a look at this question from Andrew.
Throughout the Conservative leadership race, there have been two candidates disqualified, one of them Richard Descaries, another one Jim Karahalios. And the reason I bring those up is because your campaign had actually complained about Jim Karahalios' campaign in the race. A lot of members have reached out to us wondering how you square, on one hand, being against cancel culture and being for free votes, but on the other hand, seemingly supporting a position that denied the members the ultimate right to determine who their leader should be or who their candidates should be.
Well, we have a leadership election committee, the LEOC committee, that decides. We complained because Mr. Karahalios was lying to thousands of Canadians about me, and on issues that I'm very passionate about.
He did that with a smile. It wasn't gotcha. It was very fair. I have to say, and I mean, I knew he was good, and I know I'm gushing now, but that truly was some of the finest journalism I've seen. I'm not just saying that because I'm a friend of yours and a friend of his. That was great.
Yeah, Andrew is just an incredibly talented journalist all around, and I think he comes from talk radio, so he's really good at asking these kind of questions and doing interviews. He's interviewed a lot of people. He's interviewed Justin Trudeau before. Yeah. He's interviewed Maya Angelou. He's got a really good list of people he's interviewed, and I think that just his ability to get down to the nitty-gritty. I think that the candidates appreciated the opportunity to talk to someone who's sort of friendly and actually wanting to get into the issues, into their platform.
The candidates were relaxed because they didn't feel like it was going to be an attack.
Right.
But the questions were firmer than they would normally get. And that's the irony.
Yeah, and I think that the outcome was that viewers really got a better look at the candidates. And that's again why I think that Peter MacKay did lose out, because had he shown up, I mean, I'm not sure if there was three, whether we would have gone ahead with the debate or whether we would have still done the fireside chats. I kind of like the fireside chats as a in the future when there's other races. I hope we do them too, because they give you the opportunity to really get to know a candidate. But again, we left the night not really knowing anything about Peter MacKay other than that he didn't show up, even though Ezra, he was in Toronto. He lives in Toronto. He was just up the street and didn't show up. But the other two candidates, both of them, were able to offer more of themselves, more of their platforms, even if there were those two little contradictions that Andrew found. He also helped.
Those weren't mean. It was just good journalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.